Hi, Russ of Aquarimax here. Clint recently posted a video in which he declared the emerald tree skink to be the best pet lizard ever.
Because it is.
Yes, I came here and I was immediately converted. I'm convinced, and I would love to get a group of emerald tree skinks myself. So Clint, let's talk about why.
This is the most personable lizard I've ever seen by probably a long way. I mean, I would say the only thing that comes even close would be things like tegus, because they are very personable. Honestly, I'm grateful that tegus aren't as personable as these are, but this is a little lizard that just adores human interaction. I mean, let me show you this. Let me show you this. Okay, so this is Jade. She's still in the enclosure. You can't watch them in the enclosure because they'll immediately start coming down to see you. Check this out. That's not normal. Like I honestly have difficulty explaining why a little lizard would be this personable. They just like crave human interaction. And the thing that I love most about them is, you know, most reptiles that are handleable, they sort of tolerate human interaction. You know, you can reach in and scoop them up and set them on you, and they're like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna let this happen. These guys are not that way at all. If you start reaching at them, like most of the time they'll get away from you. You know, they'll scamper off. They don't want to be grabbed. You can't just most of the time they won't let me pet them. Mm-hmm. They only do what they want to do, but what they want to do is hang out with people.
Come say hi.
You know, it's all on their terms.
Yep, there she goes.
And to me, that's the best kind of relationship you can possibly have with an animal, is where it's only doing the things that it wants to do, right, but yet it still really, really wants to be with you. And then on top of that, I mean, they're small. You can keep them in a beautiful enclosure that's bioactive, super low maintenance. They don't eat a whole lot because they're not big. A huge part of what they eat is crested gecko diet. They also eat, you know, a little bit of fruit and just a few insects, so they're super easy to keep. They themselves are gorgeous. I mean, among the most beautiful of lizards. They're just spectacular lizards. My biggest recommendation, honestly, is just, I mean, I want lots of these, but I would never recommend having more than 3 of them in an enclosure because you'd never get all 3 off of you at the same time.
Too hard to manage.
Yeah, somebody'd have to bring you meals from that point on. You know, you'd be a prisoner.
One thing I think that is fascinating, you mentioned that though they do enjoy treats out of the enclosure, that's not what got them to start jumping out of the enclosure. No. They did that on their own before you were feeding them out of the enclosure.
In fact, a lot of times if I have food on tongs and I go to give it to them in the enclosure, they'll jump right past the food onto me and up onto my shoulder. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll feed you up here then, I guess. They're more interested in being with me than they are in food.
Just fascinating.
They're crazy, and they're smart. You know, they're very bird-like, mm-hmm, in their you know, their behaviors, the way that they look at you, the way that they act. I'm over the moon with these. These are the only lizards I have that if I'm leaving town for a few days, I have to take a bunch of videos of them because I'm gonna miss them so bad while I'm gone. I just want to play with them all day long. You know, people come here, I'm like, let's play with emerald tree skinks, and yeah, you can see the other stuff if you'd like.
She goes.
And I'll mention, she is the color that they normally are, which is bright green. Right now, this is Peter. He's in blue, and when they're in blue, they are literally blue. I mean, you can see him. And so they're a little bit less outgoing when they're getting ready to shed. She is acting the way that they act most of the time, which is just crazy. And here's the other thing. These are big things. They breed very readily in captivity, though people until recently didn't know about them. So people that were breeding them were having a hard time finding anybody to buy them when they would produce them. These are wild caught.
And they're this
good. I mean, they're just
incredible.
They're just unbelievable.
She's not quite ready yet.
Nope. Usually if you give them about 20 seconds after, they want to go back to the enclosure, they want to hang out there for 20 seconds, and then that's it. Something else I've got to show you is what happens if they get away from you on the ground.
Oh, yes.
Because having a small lizard get away from you on the ground is terrifying because it could run away and get anywhere unless that lizard has absolutely no fear of you at all, and you just put your hand on the ground and up they go because they just love interacting with people. Coming back? Come back?
There she goes.
That's right. I thought we'd given you enough time. Hey, you want to go see Russ?
So why do you think they like to go back in for 20 seconds? Is it just...
Oh, they just like to explore things. They'll jump. This is something I love. When there are multiple people here, a lot of times they'll just jump from one person to the next person to the next. You know, they're just exploring.
I remember that from the last time we were here. They were jumping from me to my son. And she's thinking about it. She's not quite there yet.
Everything's on their terms.
Yeah.
I'm learning a little bit how to manipulate them to get them to do kind of what I want them to do, but for the most part that doesn't happen. Rolling these guys.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there she
20
goes.
seconds.
She's ready. It's like they have a video game. What do they call that? The cooldown period?
Respawn.
Respawn.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, here. Let's see if we can do person to person.
Oh, awesome.
How fun are these lizards? Yet completely and utterly unafraid of humans. And totally drawn to them. No, this is another thing I was telling you about this. If we put her in here, in fact, we'll do this. We'll do a little experiment. Okay. Let's see if I can get her to go back in the enclosure. Go. Okay. Now let's walk away. She won't leave. I can walk away usually for a long time, and they won't go anywhere. But then, if I walk over there, then they'll come out. So it's not that they want out of their enclosure, they just want to interact with people.
Yeah.
It's the darndest thing.
And this guy, a little while ago, was sitting on my shoulder and just decided to take a little nap on my hood.
They love hoods and collars. Hoods and collars are their favorite things. Best lizards ever. Anyway, if there is a better pet lizard in the world, I have no idea what it would be or how it's better than this. But I honestly, if you think that there's a better lizard than this, please tell me what it is. I've got to know. I've got to know, because I honestly, these are kind of starting to ruin me on other small lizards. I'm like, well, I could get that, or I could get more emerald tree skinks.
Well, thank you, Clint. I know that the first time I met your emerald tree skinks, I was sold. So, on my bucket list.
Whoop, whoop. And that's how they get on the floor.
And let's see what they do when they are on the floor. Before we show you exactly how an emerald tree skink reacts when it finds itself on the floor, I wanted to give a shout out to my patrons at Patreon. I love sharing what I learn about the fascinating creatures of this world, and my patrons help me do that. Thank you for your support. If you're not a patron yet and you'd like to become one, for as little as $1 a month, please click the link at the end of this video.
Alright, so right now I'm going to do an experiment, which is what happens if a tiny little quick lizard gets loose here in the reptile room where there's a million places to hide. It's like the scariest situation I can think of. Now the hardest thing is actually just to get them to go on the ground in the first place, because I don't know if I mentioned this, but they love people. Let's see here, if we can coax her to the ground. There we go. Oh no, it's a free lizard. Whatever shall we do? Fortunately, it's a lizard that's utterly unafraid of people and genuinely likes interacting with them. I guess we've figured out what to do. Just come kneel by them. They'll come back on their own. Oh, you're perfect. You're the perfect lizard.
This was my third visit to Clint's Reptile Room, and I had an absolutely glorious time. Not only is the room itself a fantastic place, but Clint, Jason, and Michelle are lots of fun to work with. If you ever have a chance to come to Clint's Reptile Room in person, or to schedule a face-to-face Zoom meeting with Clint there at the room, I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching today. I post videos every Tuesday and Friday, all about aquarium and vivarium pets, from axolotls to zebra pillbugs. Please feel free to share, rate, comment, and if you haven't already,
subscribe.
And then tap the bell so you don't miss my next video.
Very blue when he's in blue. He's got his one eye closed.
They're so relaxed and relaxing.
Yes. Yeah, that is a really uncommon thing, to have a tiny lizard that is relaxing to handle.
Yeah.